Now, for some reason, there's a lot of talk about on-market MLS deals. I've seen some posts. I don't make no comments, but I've seen some posts. Someone was calling out another wholesaler for wholesaling a deal on MLS. That's the lazy way. Exactly, you're laughing because I'm thinking you saw it. Someone was saying, "Hey, that's the lazy way of doing it. Get your own deals, yada yada yada." And the comments were it was a whole little discussion. Last time I checked, it was like 50 comments back and forth on MLS deals. My 2 cents on that: if we can finagle a deal, we're gonna finagle a deal one way or another, right? Now, how does it work, right? The last 5 that we did, we actually have 2-3 people in house, where, believe it or not, all day, every day, they're just looking at MLS deals. They are licensed realtors, by the way, right? Remember, we have 18 individuals on staff. Out of the 18 individuals on staff, only 4 of them are licensed realtors. The other 14 are not realtors. Maverick being one of those guys, you're not a realtor. So one of our guys named Ariel, who's really good on finding good deals on the MLS, and believe it or not, it makes money. So the last one we did, I think it was listed on MLS for 180. Now this is the crazy part, because I'm a broker too, right? So this concept, I kind of see both sides, and this goes for everyone, right? I mean, we're wholesaling deals that are actually on MLS. So if we're doing it, that means you guys can do it the same. The last deal we got was listed for 180. I think we got the contract for like 135. My thing is, what blows my mind is, if there's a licensed realtor involved and they're saying, "Hey, we're gonna list this property for 180," but the seller's willing to take 135, I just don't see what the concept is. Why list so high if the seller's willing to take 135? Now, here's the other part. We're looking for deals, or we're looking for MLS deals 2 different ways. One, as soon as it hits the market. Every single day, we're looking for brand new listings that hit the market that looks like it needs work. We're not talking about the ones that are nice and ready to go, swimming pool, granite. Those are your traditional MLS house. The MLS house that we're looking for, you can tell it's been vacant and needs work. You can tell it needs work, and it's listed at a decent price. We'll go in and we'll make them a cash offer. Typically just the same thing as a regular wholesale deal. Now, we talked about this before on previous alliance classes. The contract's gonna be a little bit different, right? There's a licensed realtor involved. They're not gonna want to accept the $10 earnest money. They're not gonna want to accept a 15-day option period for $5. So you're gonna have to make sure you fit best of both worlds. But if it's listed for 180 and we can pick it up for 139, I mean, we'll wholesale for 149 and we'll make a quick 10 grand, and that it works for us. Now, what doesn't work, Jim? What doesn't work, Jim Hernandez? What doesn't work is if it's listed for 180 and we make an offer for 170, and then we're trying to wholesale it for 180. It doesn't make sense because it doesn't look like a deal, right? It could be a deal, but if it's listed, and any buyer who's going to flip a house or buy and hold a house, they're going to do their due diligence. They're going to notice that, hey, Jim is selling me this house for 175, but it's listed with Keller Williams for 180. It doesn't seem like a deal. What's probably going to happen, Jim, is they're probably going to call that agent and say, "Hey, agent with Keller Williams, are you selling this thing for 180 or is it Jim Hernandez?" And they're going to ask, "Well, who's Jim?" And they're going to say, "Well, Jim's trying to sell to me for 175. It doesn't make sense." And then they're going to rat you out and say, "Hey, kind of find out Jim's just trying to wholesale." Now, that doesn't make sense. What does make sense is it's listed for 180 and Jim is trying to sell it to somebody for 150. At that point, if I was the buyer and I saw it listed for 180, but I see Jim's also trying to sell it to me at 150 because he says it's a wholesale deal, at that point, I'm not going to call the realtor and say, "Hey, is it for sale for 150 or 180? At that point, I will deal with Jim because it's cheaper and it's a deal. Now, here's a unicorn that happens every so often, right? The unicorn is last couple deals we got in the MLS. Let's just say it was listed for 200. Well, we got the contract for 200, and we actually wholesaled it for like 215. That's the unicorn part. That's where, like, hey, how are we wholesaling deals that's higher than the list price on MLS? I don't want to say it's incompetent realtors, but I mean that could take a small effect. Realtors might not knowing the market, right? Not every people think when there's realtors involved, they're licensed, they know what they're doing. You got to keep in mind, some of these realtors are brand new. Some of these just want a 3% commission. Some of these are just listing properties because the seller said listed for 150. There's just different ideas, and you don't know what you don't know unless you submit an offer. So back to the question, we do MLS deals. Jim, if it's a solid deal, to me, ideally it should always be lower, not significantly, but a good amount lower than list price, and it should sell. You will have a hard time though, because when the buyer shows up, there's gonna be the for sale sign, right, or the Remax for sale sign on the front door. There's gonna be a super box on the front door. So I just take that in consideration